Good evening, dear children of class 9. So, today I shall be dealing with a new poem, Daffodils by William Wordsworth. William Wordsworth was a very famous romantic poet, and he was a poet of nature. He was a nature lover, he was a nature poet, and whenever he wrote any poem, any of his poem, in fact every poem of his, it's written in a very simple manner with simple words, simple dictions that he has, he makes use of. And similarly, Daffodils is also no exception. And like in many other poems where he recollects his past, you know, Daffodils also, in Daffodils too, it is an instance where he recollects his past memory where he had encountered beautiful daffodils. So now let's move ahead with this poem, Daffodils by William Wordsworth. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. So there was a time in his past when he recollects that when he was wandering about alone, he was wandering about aimlessly, and he was wandering about where he out here he compares himself to the wandering cloud, the cloud that wanders high on the hills and valleys in the sky. Just like that, he too was wandering about aimlessly. And when all of a sudden he comes across a host of golden daffodils. So, out here in the first line of this first verse, he has compared himself to a cloud. And this is a figure of speech, that is, the figure of speech that has been applied out here is simile. And in the third and the fourth line too, he has made use of another figure of speech, and that is hyperbole. He has made use of a hyperbolic expression where the cluster of daffodils have been deduced by the usage of words like crowd and host, as you can see out here in the line. So, and when he describes these daffodils that he all of a sudden encounters, he describes these daffodils by saying that, by referring to it as golden daffodils. Now, why golden? Out here, golden out here, this color symbolizes the magical effect that it creates in the heart and the mind of William Wordsworth. The minute he saw, he was completely captivated by the beautiful sight of the daffodils. And these daffodils grew beneath the lake and beside the lake and beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. And the minute he saw, it completely captivated his heart, captivated his mind. It filled him with so much joy that he felt like as if he felt as if those daffodils seemed to be dancing, fluttering and dancing. And out here once again he makes use of another figure of speech, that is personification, where he personifies the flowers, that is the daffodils. So now out here, when he describes these daffodils to be fluttering and dancing in the breeze, what idea we get of is of the very lively appearance of these daffodils that has been created by the poet, which actually this very lively appearance of it had captivated his heart and mind. Yes. So now moving on to the next verse. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. So the daffodils that he came across, it was numerous. There were so many daffodils out there. In fact, there was this vast stretch of daffodils that grew beside the lake beneath the trees. And he compares this vastness of the daffodils to the vastness of the stars that shines and twinkles in the sky in the Milky Way. And out here, what is Milky Way? Milky Way is the galaxy that contains our solar system, which when we see from our Earth, it looks like a band of light in the sky, night sky. So he compares the vast stretch of daffodils to the vast stretch of stars that we see in the night sky. And again, here this is another example of simile. So moving on to the third, they stretched a never-ending line. And what is this they referred to out here? Yes, they out here is referred to the daffodils. They stretched a never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at glance, tossing their heads in sprightly means lively dance. So here he has very beautifully, definitely he has very beautifully described these daffodils that were seen in large number, vast stretch of daffodils, countless daffodils out here, yet he describes it in a very exaggerated manner. He uses exaggeration to emphasize the large number of daffodils that he saw during his walk out there. So that one perfect example of this hyperbolic expression, that is exaggeration, is 10,000 saw I at glance. This description is given to emphasize the large number of daffodils. Then next verse, the waves besides them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. And now out here in the third verse, what we see is the waves of the on the surface of the lake, there were small ripples, and these ripples, it seemed as if it looked like waves, and the very movement of the waves, the ripple of it, the poet imagines it to be dancing. So out here, the poet talks about the ripple, the dance of the lake, as well as of the dance of the daffodils, as if there is some competition that is going on between these two different entities. And what he says next, the wave beside them danced, but they outdid. And out here, they is referred to the daffodils. They outdid. Outdid means surpassed. They danced better than the waves. Yes, outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. So the poet was extremely happy to see the waves dancing, waves of the lake dancing. But at the same time, he was extremely happy at the sight of the fluttering and dancing daffodils. And when he saw the these two entities dancing, he felt that the dance of the daffodils surpassed the dance of the waves, and he felt and that moment, immediately, instantly, he was filled with more happiness. And he says, and his mood of happiness, his happy mood, is explained in the very next two lines. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. Jocund company, that is the happy company of the daffodils. So the poet out here is in a very cheerful, the poet's mood has been described through these two lines. He is very cheerful and in a very happy mood. He is happy as he feels one with nature out here. So I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. So he was so captivated. He was so captivated by the sight of these beautiful daffodils that were fluttering and dancing out there. It had captivated enchanted him, enchanted his heart, his mind, and he kept gazing at them. until what happened, what wealth the show to me had brought. Out here, wealth, here he refers to peace and happiness. The peace and happiness out here is referred as wealth. So I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. Show out here is referred to the fluttering of daffodils. So this very sight of daffodils had completely encaptivated his heart. It had completely filled him with such happiness that he could not have found any other better company than these daffodils. The happy company, jocund company, that he refers to it as. So, moving on to the last verse. For oft when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. So, as I had already told you that this is one recollection of Wordsworth's past, he says that later, even after many years, after having encountered with the daffodils, even after many years, whenever he would sit on his couch, whenever he would be in a very thoughtful mood, in a very pensive, in a very thoughtful mood, or in a vacant mood, sitting idly, at that point of time, he would recollect. Immediately, his inward eye would help him, enable him to imagine that the flash of that memory that he had with that daffodils, that experience that he had with the daffodils, the image of those daffodils immediately flash upon in his inward eye. And the minute that happens, he would forget about all his pensiveness, he would forget about all his sadness, he would forget about everything, and immediately he would be transported once again to that very experience that he earlier, many years ago, he had experienced. And immediately he feels so happy, and that happiness is no different from that first happiness that he received received when he first experienced his happiness with that daffodils. So that is what he says. And this happens not just once, not just twice, but often it used to happen whenever he would recollect, whenever he would feel bad, whenever he would feel sad, whenever he was in a very thoughtful mood. Whenever he was in such mood, he would often he would often be transported to that experience that he had, beautiful experience that he had with the daffodils. So they flash upon, they out here is referred to the memory, memory of his daffodils, the experience, the wonderful experience that he had, which were a memorable experience, in fact, that he had with the daffodils, upon the inward eye, the eye of the soul, that helps him to imagine, that helps him to transport himself to that place where he had first encountered the daffodils, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure feels and dances with the daffodils. So the bliss of solitude out here implies that this solitude is pleasant, because during his such moments of solitude, it was during such moments only he would receive the opportunity to recollect and re-experience the beautiful experience that he had with the daffodils. And immediately, whenever he would have such kind of recollection, immediately he would be transported to that place with the daffodils, and he would immediately experience pleasure, happiness. His heart would be filled with happiness, extreme happiness, and his heart would also dance along with the daffodils. So out here in this last verse, what we see is he has shown nature as nature having a healing power, healing him from all forms of present worries and whims. That is what we see out here. So with this, we finish this wonderful poem of Daffodils, and in the next session, what we shall be doing is I shall be forwarding you all the home assignments in your respective groups by your respective class teachers. So that is all we have for now. Thank you very much.